Today in studio, I have Antoinette Prophy, founder and MD of 88 Business Collective, an accelerator for women entrepreneurs. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
These offices, love.
Really? You love them?
Beautiful. This view, though, I think that's the one thing I love about Cape Town. It's just beautiful views everywhere.
Yeah, ne?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking time. We know that you have a busy schedule for taking time and come and talk to us.
It's an absolute pleasure.
So in 2004, you left McKinsey and you pursued your entrepreneurial dreams. Take us through that process.
So I was at McKinsey, and it's one of those spaces where it's either up or out.
Okay.
And I think I'd gotten to my out stage where... And my dad is entrepreneurial, but before that moment, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd run a business. I was always very corporate. I wanted to be a CA, and for me, my career was set in terms of corporate.
Yeah.
And so November 2003, I woke up, and probably a month earlier, I had woken up and I decided, okay, I'm at this point in my life where I don't have kids, no husband, no dog, no pot plant, no debt at the time.
That's good. Which is good.
So what am I going to do? What can I do to actually just make my mark on this continent?
Yeah.
What can I do now to set my life on a path where it can have impact? And I decided 2003, Mum, I called my mums. I said, Mums, I have decided to start my own business. I'm not calling to ask for permission. I'm calling to ask if I can move back home.
Okay.
So I took December off and started Afrofusion 2004 in my mother's lounge with 200 Rand and a laptop.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
so how did you know? I know you planned a month earlier, but how did you know that? Because I think it's always tricky. I know there are many entrepreneurs who are on that transition stage in their mind.
Yeah.
But when do you know that this is the time to take the leap? How did you know?
I spoke to my mentor at McKinsey, and we were chatting about my plans for the next year.
Okay.
And I think it was in that discussion where I decided, okay, I don't actually see myself here in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years. I don't know where exactly I see myself, but let me take a leap. And I was 26 years old. And I think for me, at 26, I always say to my younger siblings, I'm big sister to 4 siblings,
Yeah.
your 20s are about discovering you. And I think it was just the perfect time for me to actually go out and venture out on my own. Also on the backing again of not having any major obligations from a finance perspective. So I just thought it was the perfect time for me to do it. And I just knew. You just know. I think it's possibly like meeting the one.
Yeah.
You just know. And yeah, I haven't met the one yet, but I'm hoping it will be the same. So I just knew it was the right time to do it. Obviously I had fears, trepidation.
Yeah.
I thought, what am I doing? But there was a part of me that just knew that it was the right time to do it and that I was heading down the right path.
So you mentioned having a mentor, speaking to a mentor. So we'll get to that later, because I think that's key as well.
Yeah.
So you take the leap, and then you literally in the deep end. What was the first reality check for you?
Not having money.
Okay.
Or moving back home and realizing that my family wasn't really in a financial position to take care of me.
Okay.
While I started this, you know. So that pushed me even harder to make sure that all my ducks were in a row and that everything was in place in order for me to go out and look for contracts. And like I said, my dad was entrepreneurial, so having him there just guiding me as well and he was doing quite a bit of business with government. So he said to me, Anto, why don't you register on the supplier databases? And I was like, supplier what? So I did. And our first contract in September 2004, 9 months later. It was almost like giving birth, right?
Yeah.
9 months later, we got our first contract. And what I did was I made sure that I had surrounded myself with people that were stronger than me from a business perspective. So I had 2 guys with a management consulting background that was part of my team on a freelance basis,
Okay.
and took them into that first presentation at the Department of Communications. Yeah, and walking in as a 26-year-old into this boardroom full of old white guys I'll never forget that day. I was so scared, but I just had to pull myself towards myself,
Yeah.
and go back to the fact that we had put in the research, we had done the work, I had a strong team around me,
Yes.
and we won that contract.